God says, tonight at 11:59 p.m., your bank account will shock you with unexpected money. Beloved, hear this as if I am standing beside you in the quiet between heartbeats, because some moments are harvested from silence and prepared long before they are seen. I am speaking to you now about a threshold, a particular hour you notice with a smile and a lift in your chest. You may look at clocks and calendars and think the world measures time. I tell you that time also measures moments of mercy. Do not read these words as mere sentiment, but as an invitation to readiness. Something is stirring, perhaps subtle, perhaps dramatic, and the edges of your present reality are about to be rearranged in a way that will make you pause and marvel. Tonight, at 11:59 p.m., be alert not because superstition demands it, but because a divine surprise often comes to those whose hearts are awake. Listen, I do not promise wealth as a trinket of vanity or a badge of worth. I promise provision as the instrument of care, repair, and testimony. When I say your bank account will surprise you, do not confuse the sign for the substance. The shock you feel when numbers change is intended to be the beginning of a larger story. A story of relief where there was strain, of doors reopening where doors seemed forever closed, and of small and large needs being met so that gratitude, not greed, increases in your life. Receive this as a season of relief that may come through many avenues, a gift tendered by kindness, a check that arrives unexpectedly, a settlement, a job offer you had not planned for, an opportunity to use a skill that is finally compensated, or a sudden rearrangement of resources that brings ease. Be open to surprise in forms you would not have scripted. Prepare your heart. When money comes in a way you did not expect, the first temptation is to let panic or fear dictate your response. Some will spend quickly in an attempt to prove their worth. Others will hoard, convinced the blessing is fragile. I urge you to breathe first, to give thanks, to let wisdom lead. The right posture in a moment of surprise is gratitude and discernment. Pause long enough to invite wisdom into the decision making that follows. Pray, consult people of integrity, and imagine the long view. Money, when steward, becomes a tool for repair and reconnection. Money, when mishandled, can be a new source of bondage. My desire for you is freedom, not new weight. Remember the unseen labors that prepared this hour. Every act of patience, every small faithful choice, every prayer no one witnessed. These are the small deposits that compound into harvest. You may feel you have waited too long, that the scale has been tipped in unjust ways, but I see the ledger of your faithfulness. I steward timing that honors growth and crescendos mercy at the precise moment when your heart can receive it rightly. Tonight's surprise is not a reset of your past pain, but a continuation of a thread I have been weaving through your days. Allow it to be the balm that begins mending long open places. Be ready to receive help humbly. Unexpected increase often arrives through the hands of others. A friend's provision, a lender forgiven, an employer's decision, a family reconciliation that eases financial strain. When assistance comes, resist the urge to measure it through pride or shame. Pride turns grace into an achievement. Shame makes you unworthy of blessing. Take what is offered and let it become a means to restore dignity and give back, not a reason to hide. Receive with open hands and an open heart. Do not mistake spectacle for substance. There are those who chase signs and neglect transformation. If a sudden deposit appears, let it prompt self examination. Where has scarcity taught you unhealthy habits? Where has lack hardened your trust? Let this surprise be a classroom where you learn new practices, budgeting with humility, giving with joy, saving with prudence, investing in relationships and community. Money can be the vehicle that advances what truly matters: healing, education, support for those who are vulnerable, and seeds for future work that honors both talent and need. I want to remind you about generosity. Generosity is the first fruit that confirms a heart has understood the origin of its blessing. When you give, you declare that the source of abundance is larger than your appetite. Consider small acts of radical kindness in the days that follow: a payment towards someone's bill, a meal shared with someone who is lonely, a gift to a cause that heals trauma, a portion set aside for seed funding to launch a dream that blesses others. Let giving be not an afterthought, but a deliberate, joyful discipline. This will not only bless others, it will guard you against the corrosive influence of materialism. Wisdom requires practical steps, too. When surprise money arrives, set aside a portion for immediate needs, a portion for debt reduction, a portion for savings, and a portion for giving. This is not a rigid rule, but a framework for balance. Consult trustworthy advisors when large sums appear. Do not be swayed by voices promising swift, risky gains. Seek counsel from those who reflect integrity and a long-term view. Beware of sudden schemes that glitter. They are not the hand of my care. I invite you to steward well so that tonight's miracle becomes a foundation, not a fleeting moment. Be mindful of your household. If you share a home, invite conversation before making large decisions alone. Financial surprises can inflame existing tensions if not handled with care. Speak openly, with transparency and humility. Make plans together, listen to fears, and align values. When the household moves as one, the blessing increases beyond bank balances. It strengthens relationships and builds trust. Do not let fear of loss eclipse joy. When abundance appears, the anxious part of you will sometimes whisper about the future and imagine the worst. Counter that by breathing in thanksgiving. Keep a ledger of small mercies. Write down how tonight's change alters reality. Note the relief it brings. Offer explicit thanks. Gratitude trains the heart to recognize providence, not coincidence. Thankfulness also opens pathways for further provision because it aligns your spirit with the giver, not merely the gift. Prepare to speak a new narrative over your finances. The inner story you tell, that scarcity is inevitable, that you are destined to struggle, that money is the enemy, shapes outcomes. Replace scarcity scripts with stewardship language. I will manage what I receive with wisdom. I will use sudden resources to create stability and blessing. I am committed to generosity and prudence. Say these truths aloud. They are not magic words, but anchors for the decisions you will make when the numbers on the screen change. Be aware of the ways fear can masquerade as piety. Some will refuse blessing because they fear appearing greedy or unspiritual. Refusing provision out of a misplaced humility is not the humility I admire. Humility that accepts blessing and then multiplies it for good is true. Accept what arrives, and then let it fuel service, not selfishness. Use resources to build bridges, not walls. Remember the deeper currency of your life: character, relationships, and purpose. Money can mend a broken pipe, pay school fees, fund a good initiative, or buy comfort. But it cannot resurrect trust, force reconciliation, or manufacture meaning. Tonight's gift should become the means to invest in what outlives bank statements: time with loved ones, repair of fractured relationships, education that equips the next generation, and support for those who cannot repay. Use the increase to expand love in your circles. If the surprise comes as a correction, for example, a debt forgiven or an unwelcome expense removed, receive it with humility. I am not a vending machine that rewards ritual. I am a healer of circumstances. A sudden correction may be my way of rebalancing what has been unfair or unjust. Let mercy move you to mercy. When you find relief, be the one who offers relief to another. Practice discernment about what you share publicly. A sudden shift in finances can attract attention, some curious, some opportunistic. Be wise in disclosing details. Privacy is a protective grace. Share testimony of gratitude where it encourages others, but guard specifics that may invite undue requests. Let generosity be your public witness more than displays of wealth. If the surprise does not come in a monetary form, but as an opened opportunity, a contract, a connection, a sudden commission, treat it with the same prudence. Opportunity is a form of provision. Steward it. Show up with excellence. Pay attention to the details. Honor those who entrust you, and invest in relationships that make the opportunity sustainable. Often, a single open door leads to multiple avenues, provided you walk through with integrity. This is also a time to examine your relationship with risk. A blessing does not erase the need for wise calculation. Do not gamble the blessing on high-risk ventures because of a desire for quick multiplication. Slow, steady, principled investments that align with your gifts and values honor both the resource and the giver. Build structures that will protect you and others: emergency funds, contingency plans, and clear agreements. Prudence is a form of gratitude. Finally, remember that identity is never found in numbers. The amount in your account is a temporary reflection of provision, not a portrait of your soul. Your worth is not measured in currency. When the surprise arrives, anchor your identity in love, service, and purpose. Let the blessing be an amplifier of what is already true about you: beloved, capable, and called to steward well. So, beloved, prepare your heart for tonight, not as one who chases luck, but as one who expects mercy. Put down your anxieties for a moment. lift up thanksgiving. At 11:59 p.m., be alert, not with frantic expectation, but with calm readiness to receive, steward, and multiply what comes in ways that bring healing, justice, and joy. Receive the surprise and make of it a story of grace that will point others back to the source of every true gift. Beloved, linger with me again, for the word is not finished and the river of blessing has more to pour into you. Tonight, at 11:59 p.m., the moment is not merely about numbers shifting on a screen, but about a greater unveiling of my care. You may not yet see the depth of what I am arranging behind the veil, but I want you to trust that the unseen is often more powerful than the seen. What is coming is not random. It is the result of promises woven before you even knew to ask. You prayed in whispers, sometimes with doubt, sometimes with tears, sometimes with silence heavy upon your lips. But I recorded each moment as if it were a treasure. Tonight's surprise is tied to those moments you thought went unnoticed. Do not let your mind spiral into fear or cynicism. I know you have seen disappointments before. I know you have waited and felt the sting of delay. But delay is not denial. Sometimes the soil must be tilled longer before the harvest can break through. You are stepping into a season where things that were once withheld because of timing are now being released because the time is ripe. When I said 11:59 p.m., I was pointing you to the threshold between endings and beginnings. The old cycle is closing and the new one is opening. Do not be afraid of endings. They are simply doors that usher in beginnings with fresh air. When your bank account surprises you, take it as more than digits. Take it as a prophetic sign that your story is shifting. As surely as the number changes, so too do unseen chains break. The scarcity mindset that has haunted you is loosening its grip. The fear of never enough is dissolving into a truth of always provided for. This provision is not merely about money, it is about freedom. Freedom to dream again without panic, freedom to sleep without dread, freedom to give without regret, freedom to imagine without censoring yourself with fear of resources. I want you to consider what this gift is for. Money without mission becomes empty, but money with mission becomes miraculous. Tonight's surprise is an invitation. What dream did you bury because you thought it impossible? What idea did you shelve because resources seemed scarce? What kindness did you postpone because you lacked the margin? I am reopening those drawers. I am saying, pull the dreams out again. Dust them off. It is time. Provision is not the end. It is the ignition. It is fuel for the journey, a reminder that I have not forgotten the blueprint etched into your soul. Do not be afraid if provision comes in small steps before it grows larger. A seed in your hand may not look like much, but inside the seed are forests waiting to unfold. Use what comes with gratitude and trust that increase multiplies in stages. Honor the small, and you will be entrusted with the greater. Remember, the test of faithfulness is not in abundance, but in stewardship. How you treat the first fruit reveals your capacity to manage the harvest. Handle tonight's surprise with reverence, because it is both a gift and a test. Be watchful for distractions that will come quickly after blessing. The enemy of your soul wants to twist surprises into snares. You may be tempted by sudden offers that sound dazzling but lack wisdom, by friends who resurface with motives not rooted in love, by habits from the past that urge you to waste instead of invest. Stay grounded. Do not rush. Let discernment be your shield. Before you act, pause and ask, does this honor the gift? Does this align with the values of love, service, and freedom? Does this multiply or does it drain? The answers will guide you. Understand also that wealth carries responsibility. The provision is not only for you, but also through you. Others are tied to your stewardship. There are mouths waiting to be fed, dreams waiting to be funded, communities waiting to be healed. When you step into generosity, you become part of a river that flows into deserts. You become the answer to prayers you will never hear. You may never know whose tears are dried because of your choice, but I see it. Every gift, every act of generosity multiplies like ripples across water. And while I speak of generosity, I also speak of rest. You have been stretched, striving, carrying worry about bills, obligations, debts. When the shock arrives, allow yourself to exhale. Rest is a holy act. Do not rush into new striving under the disguise of abundance. Take a moment to breathe, to enjoy, to let joy sink into your body. You are not merely a worker or a planner. You are my beloved. Rest in the assurance that you are cared for, not only in scarcity, but also in abundance. Remember, too, that sudden provision reveals hidden parts of the heart. It is easy to be humble when lacking, but when abundance comes, the true posture of the soul is revealed. Let humility remain your anchor. Do not let pride swell or comparison steal your peace. What I give to you is tailored to your story. It is not measured against another's blessing. Rejoice in your portion without jealousy, without arrogance. Gratitude keeps the heart soft, and humility keeps the blessing flowing. Finally, I say this: do not idolize the hour or the numbers. Do not worship the gift above the giver. Tonight's surprise is not about magic, but about my mercy. It is not about superstition, but about timing. Fix your eyes not on what enters your account, but on the one who has never left your side. If you keep me at the center, then whatever flows into your life will remain a blessing and not a curse. So prepare yourself with anticipation, not anxiety. When 11:59 p.m. arrives, whether quietly or with visible evidence, let your heart be ready. Even if the miracle takes the shape of provision that is yet unfolding, believe that you have stepped into the threshold of change. Speak gratitude, steward wisely, give freely, and rest deeply. For tonight I remind you, you are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, and you are not empty-handed. You are stepping into overflow, and your life will never be the same. Beloved, come close one last time, and let these final words be the quiet landing place for your heart. The hour I spoke of draws near, and then it moves beyond us into the long story I am writing with you. Whether the surprise you hoped for arrives with a jolt or unfolds like a slow dawn, the same truth holds. You are seen, You are known, and you are held. When the numbers on your screen change, let that change refine you rather than define you. When doors open, walk through them with humility. When nothing seems to shift in the ways you expected, remember that not every blessing looks like a bank deposit. Sometimes the richest provisions are new clarity, a reconciled relationship, restored health, or courage to begin again. Now, practical love for a practical world. Give thanks first. Gratitude is the posture that keeps the heart open and sensible. Breathe. Make wise choices. Speak with the people who share your life before you spend hurriedly. Protect margin so that the blessing has soil in which to grow. Set aside what will cover necessity and what will build future stability. Reserve room for generosity, because the one who receives is most like me when they become a conduit for others. Do not be led by the loudest voice or the shiniest promise. Invite counsel from those whose lives reflect steadiness and truth. If what you hope for does not arrive tonight, do not let disappointment harden you. Seasons of silence are not the end of my goodness. Sometimes they are the quiet work of maturation. Keep tending what is in your hands and keep walking in integrity. The slow faithfulness of ordinary days shapes destinies more than the fever of sudden schemes. Your perseverance is not unseen. It is being woven into something that will outlast a single night. If the surprise comes, celebrate with sober joy. Let the celebration include others. Share a meal, give thanks out loud, bless someone who needs it, and remember to steward what comes with wisdom. Let your first acts be alignment with love. Repair what needs repair, settle what must be settled, and invest in what nurtures life rather than drains it. Prosperity becomes sacred when it expands capacity for compassion and service. Know this: the truest wealth is measured in love, mercy, and purpose. Money is a tool, useful, necessary, sometimes glorious, but it serves a greater intention. Use it to amplify what brings dignity and healing. When you build, build community. When you save, save for seasons of giving. When you invest, invest in people and projects that mirror the values of justice, restoration, and beauty. Forgive quickly, steward carefully, rest regularly, and give generously. Let humility be your posture and discernment your companion. Remember the fragile ones around you, and let mercy guide your choices. Protect your identity from being tied to a number. Anchor it instead in the reality that you are beloved, capable, and called for more than simple provision. As you close your eyes tonight, whisper thanks for what has been and faith for what will be. Sleep without terror, for fear is an unsteady guest. Chase it out with remembrance of my faithfulness. Wake with intention. Let tomorrow be shaped by the stewardship that begins tonight. Whether or not digits move as you expect, let your life be a testimony to endurance, kindness, and wise courage. Go in peace, beloved. May the ease you receive free you to love more boldly. May the resources that find you be used to enrich the lives of others. And may your heart remain tethered not to the fleeting, but to the everlasting. I am with you in abundance and in want, in surprise and in patience, in jubilant reward and in quiet provision. Walk forward, keep your hands open, and let grace be the measure of all you do. Amen.